Hi guys, so I wanted to talk to you today about something controversial. It starts with F. It's one of those famous F words that we don't really talk about a lot. I'm sure it's not what you're thinking. I wanted to talk about failure. Sorry, but yeah, I want to talk about failure today. What do we do with it? What do we do with failure? I was listening to a sermon this morning by Steven Furtick. I think he preached it on Sunday, so you can find it on YouTube. It was called The Blessing of Both. And though this isn't directly related to the sermon that I heard this morning, it is it brought back to my memory, you know, the fact that life is not just peaches and rainbows and skittles and rainbows. You know, stuff happens to us along our journey, and a lot of times we attempt things. You know, we get an idea, sometimes we feel like it's a God idea, and we get this idea in our heads, and then we go for it, and then it doesn't work. You know, one of the predominant things that comes to my mind when I think about failure is, and I keep going back to it, is one of my relationships that I was in. You know, I believed with everything in me that God said yes, and coming out of it, of course the relationship didn't last, and coming out of it, you're like, what happened here? You know, what went wrong? But I believe that God did say yes. You know, he never promised me that that relationship would have ended in marriage, but he did allow it to happen because it would have taught me the things I wouldn't have learned otherwise. It has taught me, rather, the things, some stuff I would never have learned otherwise. Apart from being in that relationship, I wouldn't have learned some of the things that I learned. So even if I say anything in these videos that is wise or that has given you some kind of insight or is helpful to you in any way, I'm thankful that I went through that relationship, because I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about life. I learned so much about relationships, about men, about everything coming out of that. So what do we do with failure? Sometimes failure isn't failure. And that's the truth. Sometimes what we think is failure is really a setup for us to learn. Remember that Romans 8:28 says that all things work together for the good of them who love the Lord and who are the called according to his purpose. Why? I pop my color. I actually said the scripture without making a mistake. But yeah, sometimes failure isn't failure. Everything works together. All of it works together. The good, the bad, the indifferent. It all works together, and it's all making and shaping us. But the thing is that we have to choose to learn, because sometimes we go through different situations, and we're forced into different situations sometimes, and it does not work out. Whatever the situation may be. You know, maybe you try a new business venture and it doesn't work. What did you learn? You know, choose to learn the lessons. There are lessons in every single thing that we go through in life. I remember when I went to do my driving exam when I was, oh, that's a long time ago. I think I was 17. I was either 17 or 18, and I failed the first time. I know you can't beat me at driving. I passed. It was either the second or the third time I passed, and I did well, and I can drive. Why? I failed the first time, and it was devastating. It was, of course, 17. You want to get your bus to drive on the road, you know. And I failed. But now I'm a very good driver, and I became a very good driver because I had to practice harder, and I had to learn from my mistakes. The mistakes I made, whether it was parallel parking or whatever. Now I can parallel park for real, and now I can really drive because I failed the first time. I did CXC and I failed CXC the first time. For those who don't know, that is the grade, what grade is that? Grade 11. Yes, the grade 11 examinations that we do here in Jamaica. Well, we don't do it anymore. We do something else. I don't even know what it name. Is it GCE? Don't tell me. Anyway, I failed CXC the first time, and not only did I fail, I had to repeat fifth form, and I had to repeat fifth form at a different school, and it was not easy for me to come to grips with the fact that I was now being separated from my friends, the friends that I had been with from I started high school. I was now going to a brand new environment, and to be honest, I lost a lot of my friends. A lot of people who I thought were my friends were no longer my friends because I wasn't at school with them anymore. I was repeating fifth form, and not only was I repeating, I wasn't at the school. So it's not like they could still see me and we could still hang out at lunchtime. I was in a totally different environment, and I had some tell me verbatim, we don't have time for you. We're in sixth form and you're in fifth form, and we don't have time for you. And so I learned a lot from that, you know, and I have very good friends. I have some friends from high school still, but I have very good friends in my life today. And after repeating fifth form, it was when I was moved out of that environment, and I repeated fifth form, and I buckled down to an extent, and I did well the second time doing CXC. And it was because I was moved from one institution to the next that certain opportunities came to me. I got a full ride for my college, for undergrad college in Dallas, Texas, and it was only because I had been moved, because I had to repeat. So everything is a setup. You see, God is God is strategic. You think the devil's strategic? God is even more strategic, because God has good plans for our lives. Jeremiah 29:11 says that he knows the plans he has for us, plans to give us hope and a future, plans for good and not for calamity, to give us a hope and a future, to bring us to an expected end. And so it all works, everything works together. And so because he knew I would fail CXC the first time, he knew that my parents would want me to move, would want me to be moved from that school to another school, and he knew that once I was finished with CXC and I went on to sixth form, that this opportunity would come to me for me to get a full ride. And I'm talking about tuition, board, books, everything was covered. The only thing my parents really had to pay for in the first going up is, you know, like my supplies and stuff like that, and my airfare. But otherwise everything was covered, and it was because God set it up that way. And so I want you to take a different approach to failure. Don't look at it, and because a lot of times when we fail, we feel like, I'm done, not doing this again, throw in the towel, and we want to walk away. A lot of times there are lessons for us to learn, and the lessons that we learn are valuable for us to move forward and for us to succeed in that very same thing. So I want you to just take a different mindset toward failure. Don't look at it as failure. Look at it, okay, so this didn't work out the way I thought it would have. What is here for me to learn? What is in this that I can learn, and I can now apply this again and try again. Don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. It's all working together for your good. It's all for your good. It's all for your good. So I just want to encourage you with my F word. Don't look at failure as failure. Look at failure as a lesson. Look at failure as a stepping stone to something greater, because there is greatness in you. There is, and you are not a failure, and you're not what you have done. You are not the person that has experience. You are, you know, you learn from your experiences. I hope learn from the experiences that you go through, whether or not they work out the way that you intended for them to work out in the initial instance. It all works together, and it's all making and building you into the best version of yourself. So take a different approach to failure. Bye.